Today on the Amp'd UP211 podcast, Denny Chipollini. 30 years ago, Denny lost his leg in a terrible single-car automobile accident on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. This tragic event would alter his life forever. After years of managing pain with opioids, Denny has discovered a fountain of youth by utilizing natural and holistic approaches to health and fitness. Denny has taken these techniques to the masses and continues to mentor others through his motivational speaking and personal training. Denny has become a beacon of hope for so many amputees in the senior category. His amputee lifestyle is one that is filled with energy and positivity. It is our pleasure to welcome to the Amp'd UP211 podcast, Denny Chipollini. How are you, Denny? What's up?
Oh, how you doing, Rick?
I'm doing
good.
Good.
Doing good.
Good. You look bright-eyed. That's good to see.
I am.
And you are visiting with us from beautiful, sunny Florida. What part of Florida?
We're in Lakewood Ranch. It's outside Sarasota.
Okay. I very much frequented Sarasota. I want to say places like St. Pete, Sarasota. I had some friends that had a place in Siesta Key and spent many, many summers there. My parents also had a home on the Gulf near Captiva and Fort Myers.
Okay. Yeah,
so
that's where it got hit with the hurricane.
yeah, I know. And I very much have enjoyed Florida. I know you're originally from Pennsylvania, and yes. Tell me a little bit about how you ended up in Florida.
Well, I moved back to my hometown when my parents got sick, my wife and I, and to help. You know, we wanted them to finish their life here in their own house.
Yeah.
So my sister and I, my father passed away maybe 5 years ago, and my mother passed away last year. So that's why we hung up there. And then our landlord raised the rent, and then we're like, whoa, we could pay this in Florida,
yeah,
and have sunshine. So that's what we did.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
We don't regret it. It's beautiful down here. It's expensive.
It sounds like your parents lived a very long life.
They did. My father was 91 when he passed away, and my mother would have been 90. She was just a month away from 97.
That's amazing.
So I have some DNA on my side.
Yes.
Some longevity.
Well, and that's a great point, because that leads me to my first question today. When I think about you, Denny, and given your age and the group in which you represent, let's say, in the spectrum of what people go through at various points in their life, I think of you as someone who is incredibly motivated as an amputee, very much an inspiration to myself, because at 55, I look at someone like you and I say, how can I be like Denny when I'm in my 70s? How am I going to make that happen? So the first question I want to ask you, and this might have something to do with your parents, where do you feel like you get your primary motivation from?
Well, my both of those were hard workers. They loved life. They loved to dance. They loved to eat. So they enjoyed life. I'll tell you what, a lot of my motivation, believe it or not, in high school, when they give you the award at the end of the year, most likely to succeed, this and that. You know what I received? Laziest kid, not in the class, in the school.
So they actually gave out an award for that? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, it was kind of a comical, and when they called my name out, I sent somebody else up because I'm too lazy to walk to get the award. So it kind of went over. But yeah, I wasn't that motivated in high school. I mean, it was party time, this and that. I got to be honest. when I lost my leg, that is where it took off. It really did. And that was, it's coming on, well, next year will be my 34th year without a leg.
So you feel like becoming an amputee, going through the accident and the trauma that you did, and then recovering from that sort of lit the fuse to say, how am I going to make this work? Because I talk about this very often with amputees, and I happen to be really in the best shape of my adult life right now. And this is post amputee. Not that I was necessarily in terrible shape before my amputation. I did activities. I was an active guy. I'd go through, let's call, spurts or different sort of kicks where I'd get into going to the gym for a period of time. So I'd go through these phases, let's call them, of becoming active, aspiring to be active. But I never really understood the difference between that endeavor and developing what I now refer to as an active lifestyle. Because active lifestyle, and when I look at you and I follow you and I see all the things that you're doing, that's how I view someone like yourself. I say, well, Denny, he lives a very active lifestyle. It's been woven into the fabric of everything that he does. It's not like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, come home, indulge in a bunch of food, hurt myself nutritionally, and then lay on the couch. It's this thing that you're constantly visiting throughout your day to say, how am I bringing my best self to this? And becoming an amputee can really be that game changer. And obviously it was for you as well. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I would run, maybe a few miles a day kind of thing, or a few times a week. But when I looked at a marathon, I'm like, these people are crazy. 26.2 miles. And I had both my legs when I was saying that. I lost my leg. I ended up doing a marathon 10 years later.
Yeah.
3 of them, full ones and 3 halves.
Yeah.
It's just that what happened was the best thing the doctors could have said to me is what they said to me. Most likely I would never walk again without the use of some kind of apparatus. When they said that, I said to my father, Dad, you bring in my weights tomorrow, I start my rehab. I still had both legs. No, not at that point. No, they took the one, the other one wasn't healing. That's what happened. And I just, one little step at a time. Well, what can I do now? Where can I go from here? And I came up with a phrase. This is my quote, and I love this. The finish line is just the start of another race. Meaning, okay, you set a goal, you reach it, and it's not over. You start another one and just keep moving forward. So for me, at 70 years old, I don't know if I felt this good at 40. Yeah. I mean it. I have found, I say, the fountain of youth. Good nutrition. And when I say that, people cringe. They're like, oh, I have to eat that. No, it's good foods. Good foods. I love meat. I love red meat, good quality meat. I think it's important to keep protein, to keep your muscles strong, especially as we get older. It's hard.
Yeah.
And if I work out in the gym, I want to keep that muscle.
Well, I've seen your posts. I've seen your posts on some of the food that you prepare, and I will tell you that very often I think, oh boy, I'm hungry, because I'll see something that you post, and you're let's put it this way, it's great food porn for me, because I see it and I go, oh man, this is it. This is it right here. I'm starving now. And you're always very descriptive about what you've prepared and how you've done it and things like that. And I do think I am a big believer in balancing nutrition, not doing anything necessarily to an extreme. I do see a lot of people that I guess I perceive as doing sort of desperate things to reach certain goals. in terms of whether it be weight loss or muscle gain, where they sort of swing to one very far end of the spectrum in terms of their nutrition.
Right.
And I have always felt that there is a way to enjoy everything
Absolutely.
in moderation. And if you want to, treat yourself every once in a while to something that's a little indulgent, that's okay.
Absolutely.
It's just, don't do it all the time. And
Exactly.
I always recall, I can't remember, I've seen so many food docs. I remember this one documentary where there was this nutritional expert, world-renowned guy. He said, nobody dies from one meal. People die from thousands of meals.
Bad habits.
Bad habits.
They constantly eat the same non-nutritious food.
Yes.
Hey, I have 2 beers a day.
Yeah.
I love the taste of beer. So I have my 2 a day. Now, of course, I'm working out and I allow for that. But that's how I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I look forward to that. But here's one of the things I follow. Eat first what your body needs, then eat what you want.
Mhm.
And most likely, you're not going to eat as much of that.
Yeah.
My first wife, we used to have the biggest fights. I make this beautiful dinner, and she'd eat cookies right before dinner. I'd go out of my mind. And I'm Italian, and it's like, whoa. But it's so important to feed your body the right foods. And I do supplement because a lot of our food, unfortunately, isn't up to snuff.
And I had seen a post that you did the other day. It was kind of like a let's just call it, for lack of my knowledge, it was some sort of a protein shake that you would kind of put a whole bunch of different.
Yeah, my energy drink.
Your energy drink. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
You created this energy drink that pretty much was your, I guess you could call it like your own secret recipe.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Of a number of different minerals and vitamins and all these different things. And I thought, what a commitment to his nutrition. Because let's face it, Denny, everyone wants an easy fix. Everyone wants to take a pill. Everyone just wants to say, just give it to me in a bottle, and I'll drink it, and hopefully that'll fix me. And it seems like you're going after something that's a lot more high level, in that you're breaking it down and saying, okay, what am I feeling that my body needs? Either I'm lacking in terms of my food intake. I'm trying to build muscle. I'm trying to build my stamina, my flexibility. I'm trying to survive in this Florida heat.
Yeah, exactly.
And what do I need? And it was a pretty impressive list of ingredients that you would put together.
Yeah, and there's no sugar in there.
Right.
If you can buy an energy drink and it's loaded with sugars and all kinds of, so I made my own, and I use all the electrolytes. But the thing that really has been big for me, and I put that in my energy drink, and I recommend this for a lot of people. Research it, take a look at it. But I put baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon, in my water.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does, it makes it an alkaline water, which is better for you. It also gives you those electrolytes. Now, the other day, I'm out there in 115 index heat. I did 5 miles speed walking, and I'm sweating, but I'm not feeling the heat.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this water concoction that I make.
And you're getting a great tan, by the way.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing. I don't use suntan lotion, but I've learned some other things and I apply them. I experiment on myself, and then I want to share it.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to research it, but I really, I'm old enough, and I've always done that. I've always wanted to share things that I've picked up on. I love doing that. Love seeing people. That's why I've been a trainer for 35 years.
Yeah, the thing I wanted to ask you, because we're not that far apart in age. I have found I spent about 4 years of my life where I was very, very ill.
Mhm.
very sedentary, had a number of operations, obviously an amputation included. And I went through a lot of atrophy, and I still feel like I'm very much a sort of deflated version of myself. And of course, the spaces
Mm.
of let's call it my skin suit that used to inhabit much larger muscle tone has now sort of deflated.
Right.
And although I'm very much at a much stronger point than I've ever been, much more flexible, building muscle mass is something that I have very much thought this is something that is important to me. And I have read things that you've mentioned in terms of muscle being such a critical part of moving into old age, and how it's sort of this building block that gives you all of these all of that fountain of youth that you keep talking about. So help me understand from I'm trying to get some free personal training here.
Well, absolutely.
Give me some
Well,
advice
one of
in
one
that
of the most
regard.
important things is strength training. At least 3 times a week in the gym or at home. You want to lift weights, and you don't want to lift light weights. You want to go heavier.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying bodybuilding or powerlifting weights, but enough to put some resistance on the muscle, because
Yeah.
that's what makes it grow.
Yeah.
Because basically you're breaking down that muscle, and then it repairs, and as it repairs, it produces more fiber,
Right.
and that's what makes the muscle strong. So after you break it down, you want to eat protein, good sources of protein, meats. I've been drinking raw milk. I love that.
Mm.
I guess I've switched into more of an animal-based diet, and I still do my plant, but I do more animal-based, and I find that really helps keep maintain the muscle.
And that you mean in terms of a good solid protein source?
Yeah,
Comparatively
like
to some of the more vegan like sources of
yeah,
protein.
yeah. Because I tried the vegan thing, and I was getting sickly looking.
Yeah.
You lose weight, but guess what you're losing?
Yeah, muscle.
Muscle.
Yeah.
And we need the muscle to sustain. You fall. I mean, I've read one statistic, and I've read it over and over again. People that fall over after the age of 65 usually only live a year.
Mm.
The majority. Now, why? Because of muscle loss.
Yeah, there's no
And it doesn't take
muscle.
much.
Yeah.
It just takes a commitment, and it's something you do. And then I also like putting in the speed walking. I like I said, I used to run, and I may run again. I'm looking at a half marathon possibly in Sarasota, but we'll see.
Damn.
But yeah, speed walking out in the sun, because we were told for years, stay out of the sun. What? The sun is life.
Hey, just so you know, I don't listen to that at all.
Yeah.
People
I've never used suntan lotion.
Yeah, people will say to me all the time, they're like, how are you so tan? And I'm like, because I'm outside all the time.
Yes.
And I don't wear sunscreen.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that all skin types, don't burn. Right. I'm part Hispanic, so that helps me.
Yeah.
in the genetic sense that my skin.
You just got to be smart.
Yes.
And if you're light skinned, get out there I just tell people this. Oh, I got to put something on. Okay. I said, tell them to go out for 10 minutes, no sunglasses on, because it's amazing. The rays of the sun comes through the eyes, and it produces a protective barrier on the skin for the sun. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
But people slap on the sun screen, and they end up with a deficiency in vitamin D.
Yeah.
You really got to look out there, because there's companies out there trying to sell their products, and they'll do whatever it takes.
No, I know. No, you're so right. And I just want to back up a little bit, because I know you've been a marathoner as an amputee, and I want you to try to recall what that looked like for yourself, and especially when someone is considering that type of event as an amputee, which to some of us, myself included, seems like an impossibility, because how can I say it? Just because it just
But that's in our head.
Yeah,
because guess what? I thought the same thing.
Right. I was going to say it's a mental block, and it's something that we go from this place of, you know what, Denny, I just want to walk. I just want to walk, right? And then you walk, and then it becomes, well, I just want to ride a bike. That's all I want to do. And then you do that. And then it just keeps going from there,
Yes.
right? So when you recall preparing for those events as an amputee, how would you describe that? What the very first marathon, let's say, that you ever ran, what did you deal with, not only in terms of your training regimen, but what things challenged you in the amputee sense?
Right.
From, everything from your limb, your residual limb, to, even the detailed stuff like your, your liners or your prosthetic, or, what did all of that feel like for you? Walk the listeners through that.
Sure. Well, I knew when I decided to do, the first thing I did was a half a marathon, which is 13.1. And I did that in Philadelphia with the support of my family, friends. I was back then, this is over 24 years ago. Back then, I was the only amputee out there. So I didn't know what to expect, because I really didn't see anything on anybody else. So I knew I needed to make my legs strong. So I really did heavy weight work at the beginning. And as my mileage went up in training, I cut back down on the weight work, which helped me sustain muscle.
And you're talking about your residual limb?
Both.
Both.
I worked them both.
Okay. But you were you approached it in a way, if I'm understanding, you were creating the same load for both limbs, meaning your good leg, let's call it, and your residual limb. You weren't necessarily giving one more and one less. You were like,
exactly,
I'm just going to approach it like I've got two legs.
I still do the same. When I do leg presses, they both get the same amount of weight.
Got it.
Then I do them together. So I make them feel, wanted.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the thing was, people told me, hey, when, in the marathons about the 20th mile, you hit the wall because your body's exhausted. Well, I didn't feel that.
Hey everybody, today I want to talk about the Ross. The Ross is a liner cleaning system that I really feel compelled to talk about with our listeners. As most of you know that follow the podcast, I really don't do a whole lot of product endorsing, but I really feel that I want to get this out into the community. We all, as amputees, tend to struggle with cleaning liners, cleaning our gel liners. Whether you're below the knee or above the knee, we have these gel liners that have to stay clean. We don't want to develop skin infections, things of that nature. And having a fresh, clean liner seems to be one of the most important aspects of daily management of an amputee. And I was introduced to the Ross system through the company. And basically, this device is something where you can put your liner into this sort of tube, let's call it, and within 10 minutes, or if you want a deeper clean, within 20 minutes, you get a fresh, clean liner. And I am just ecstatic about this. It provides me the ability to have clean liners all the time. I never have to put a liner in the tub, in the sink. I never really have to use soap and water again. And it's really been just a wonderful product and experience in terms of what is available to amputees. So I want everyone to check out the Ross. It's a great system. Check it out. Here it is. The ozone generated by Ross eliminates germs and odor-causing bacteria that soap and water alone cannot. leaving prosthetic liners smelling fresh, sanitized, and ready to wear in as little as 10 minutes. Independent laboratory tested, the device rapidly eliminates 99.9% of bacteria that causes skin and soft tissue infections. The Ross sanitation process is compatible with all liner types, makes, and sizes. As a clinical grade device for home use, Ross is convenient and easy to operate at the point of care, in a clinic, or at home while one sleeps, eats, or watches TV. Check out the Ross today.
I feel I train pretty well as far as my strength that way. One of the biggest problems is the sweat. I have to stop every mile and a half just to pour the sweat out.
Yeah.
And that's one of the issues. Like, I'm at the 17th mile, let's say. I lean up against something, take the leg off, and to get started again. Whoa. But every marathon, I said the same thing. Within the first 3 miles, what am I doing out here? What are you, crazy? I still got 20 some miles ahead of me. And I'm like, and you start, and then I went, whoa, that's a negative. Let's reverse that and take that out of there. You're going to do this 1 mile at a time. Because a marathon, you would split up. You could say 5K and you got what, 4 of them? 5 of them.
Yeah.
No, more than that. But anyway, any way you split it up, it always comes out, wow, I still got this much more to do. But it was always good because people supported me.
Yeah.
And they'd run up next to me and run with me, and that just made me feel good. And back when I did it, Team in Training was doing it. And the good part about that is there was a lot of women that did that. So they kind of made it fun. They kind of huddled around me and we ran together.
Sure.
So it was fun. It was, but I'll never forget my first marathon. Coming down, it was in San Diego, Rock and Roll Marathon, year 2000. I'm coming down to the finish line. Now, my left leg, the amputation, it's bleeding. It's just a mess. So I'm literally limping on it.
Yeah.
And the right leg, all of a sudden, it feels like I got shot in the hamstring. I go into a cramp. Both legs are like, but they allowed me to finish with my kids. So about 20 yards from the finish line, my 2 kids are waiting for me. I'm getting chills right now.
Yeah.
When I saw them, I just sprinted, grabbed their hands, and we headed for the finish line. I didn't feel any pain during that period of time. Later on, yeah, that's a different story. But that's what's important, I think, how our mind plays. Distract the pain.
Right.
I know with phantom pain, one of the worst pains anybody can feel, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, for sure.
And I found a way to help with that. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, and the story itself, about your kids, I think is a huge point to sort of highlight, because very often when I do meet new amputees and they reach out to me, and the first question I usually ask them is, what is your support system like? That's usually the first thing I say, because so much of what you're describing as this energy, this fuel that you had as an amputee, as an athlete, and obviously as a father, came from your support system.
Mm-hmm.
And people, all of us, I don't care what fitness level you are, I don't care what walk of life you come from. So much of who we are is defined by the people that celebrate us and cheer us on.
Absolutely.
And so often people will say to me, gosh, how do you do it? I mean, how do you make it look so easy, so normal? And my answer is always the same, which is it's because I have some of the greatest people in my life that support me and give me everything I need to know that I can do whatever I want. It just depends on how badly I want it, because I never have to worry if someone's going to support me in that.
Right.
So that,
And you know what's important too, Rick?
yeah,
I really believe, because I see some people, you know, they're going through this and they feel sorry for themselves and they don't want anybody to help them and this and that. Well, I found early going, that's wrong, because they're suffering just like you are.
Yeah.
And they want to be a part. So let them help you. Let them, you know, do it together, experience it together.
Yeah.
And that has been a big help for me.
Yeah, I want to touch on that real quick, because this idea of toxic positivity keeps sort of entering my orbit. And I actually, when I first heard the term, I actually thought it was like made up, like it wasn't an actual thing. I thought toxic positivity, like what? I don't understand what.
I don't think I ever heard it.
Well,
I'm kind of anxious to hear.
Yeah, apparently it's a thing, and there is a camp of people amongst many communities of people who have survived a trauma, like you and myself, that believe being positive can be toxic, that it can actually create more of a problem than help. And I very much push back hard on that. I push back very hard on it. And I say, you know, just like any other piece of advice, you don't have to listen. If I don't like what's being broadcast on the news, I turn the channel.
Right.
If I don't like what someone is saying at the cocktail party that I disagree with, I leave the room.
Right.
I don't necessarily allow anyone or anything to dictate who I am, what I want. We are individuals and we have our freedoms.
That's right.
So to condemn someone for allowing their positive nature, their light, their vibration, to try to tamp that down, I think it's cruel, because
Well, you know what that's about. They're
me.
too lazy to get up off their own butts. You know, seriously. I mean, put other people down that are doing things.
Yeah.
Seriously. But here's one thing, though, out of that I was thinking of. One of the things that bother me, especially on social media, amputees and even able-bodied people doing these stunts that are dangerous. That I don't agree with.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get hurt, and people watch that and they go attempt it. I don't agree with stuff like, I mean, if you're an amputee and you climb a mountain, that's a different thing. But some of the stuff, on a skateboard, I mean, one false move, you're done.
Yeah. No, there is certainly a lot of content that tends to revolve around these sort of extreme
sensationalism.
Yeah, there's sort of these extreme stunts, let's call them. And I know that so much of it is motivated by, it's like clickbait. People are just wanting to get likes and get noticed. And I'm in the same camp as yourself. I think, that's just not really something that I subscribe to or that I want to promote. But at the same time, I really feel that the amputee community in general seems to be very divided into two categories, which is people that want to engage, be positive, look towards sources of inspiration, things that are going to create forward movement in their lives. And then there tends to be this other group that is in a very, very dark space.
Yeah.
Very, very sort of down on what it is to be an amputee, the process.
Why me? It's why me.
Yeah.
Why? How did this happen to me?
Yes.
But they're looking at it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we all said that.
Yeah.
I said that laying in the hospital when friends would come and see me, and I never knew if I was going to walk again. I didn't know. And but I got to tell you, best gift I ever got. Oh, I am so content where I am and how I got here, and I wanna reach this to other people. A lot of people, and I get haters. Oh, you must love yourself. You're damn right I do. Don't you? Don't you love you? If you don't, who will?
Yeah.
You've got to spend the rest of your life with you.
Yeah.
So you got to like who you are. And if you don't, fix it.
Yeah, I actually agree with that sentiment 100% because so much of my later years now, let's call it my true adult life, has been in realizing that to be happy, truly happy, and experience joy, you have to love yourself.
Yes.
You really have to take care of, prioritize, and love yourself. Because I spent so many of my adult years constantly saying phrases like I have to, or I'm supposed to, or it's expected of me. And very often that was to serve the needs of others. So there were so many outside forces that were sort of driving my motivations that had very, very little to do with what I wanted to do or what I wanted to give myself. And certainly becoming an amputee really kind of recalibrates that thinking of if I'm going to make this work, and when I say this, I mean this limb loss thing,
right.
this sudden change of, oh my gosh, what has happened to me? I've got to start loving myself. I've got to start taking care of myself. I have to start treating my body like nature intended. I'm a machine, and I have to. I got to work.
And think about it. You wouldn't put bad gas in your car, would you? Or bad oil?
Yeah, I always say, like, would you fill your gas tank with milk? I doubt it.
So you want to put the best in for whatever. And the amazing thing is the car will run better. Yeah. But so will we. But we heal ourselves. We need to feed it the right things.
No, absolutely. I want to touch on some of what you battled with earlier in your amputee journey. You talk in a very transparent way, which I appreciate, about your struggle with opioids. And being an amputee, as you are familiar, I am familiar, many of our listeners are familiar, that managing pain, whether that is chronic pain, incision pain, bone issues, and the biggest natural evil of all, which is phantom pains, you struggled for a decent amount of time, and
28 years.
Yeah, and I'd really like to hear your perspective because obviously you have gotten on top of this, and you are living in a way, in a holistic sense, that is really a game changer, and I think would provide inspiration to a lot of folks out there. So I'll let you go. I'll let you run wild on that one.
Yeah, because there's something a few things I'd like to say about this. Well, obviously during this time was the opioid, let's give them out, kind of thing. So pills, whatever I wanted came to me. And the problem with opioids, you need more to take the pain away. And what I learned through the years, sometimes it's not just it's the actual opioid and what it does to you, what it does that causes more pain. I couldn't leave the house without my satchel of pills because every 3 hours, there it is calling me, sending the pain. Hey, you got to feed us. You got to feed us. And I did because I would go to my doctor. They'd give me more. I mean, I tried everything, and the pain never totally went away. It just numbed it. So I went 28 years on opioids. I mean, I think that at the end, when I finally quit, I was up to 200 milligrams of oxycodone a day. And yeah, a few times I think my heart stopped. I can remember that. I remember, going to work and on the way home, waking up in a intersection, passing out. These things are Satan's pills. They are deadly. So about 6 years ago, I said, hey, I got to get off these things. So I went to a rehab hospital and I wanted to talk with them. And I said, listen, this is my situation. I've been on opioids for 28 years. I want to get off them. I want to detox. And I said, what does that detail? And they said to me, well, we'll keep you here a week and you'll never feel a thing. We'll give you drugs to get you off of this. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't want any more drugs. I says, no, thanks. I want to feel the pain so I never go back here again. I wanted to mess myself, to feel the crawling skin, the whole horrible sense of it. I wanted to feel all that. So what I did is I locked myself in my bedroom. I told my wife, I said, this is what's going to happen here. I told my doctor what I was going to do. He was on alert. I would monitor everything, my blood pressure got high at points where I thought I would go to the emergency room, but I didn't have to. I didn't take any drugs. I just went cold turkey. Was it bad? Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible. It took a while for the physical part to go. The mental part stayed with me for months. And my gut, it took years to get it back. Mm. But now I can honestly say, because it's a cycle. They give you drugs that the same companies, they make the same drugs. It just doesn't get you high, but you're still on narcotics. Now, and then when I researched it, only 5% usually are successful.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to do it myself. Now, with that said, what was I going to do about the phantom pain? Because there's nothing worse than that. And I would get it for sometimes 4 days. And it's like the worst pain that I've ever felt. It's like being electrocuted every 5 to 8 seconds. And the worst part of it, it's coming. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, and it just, you know what I mean?
I do.
And anybody that, that's experienced them, no, it's horrible. But what I did is I coincided with Pennsylvania was getting the medical marijuana. So I started on the medical marijuana. And that's a shame because it was so helpful, but you have to learn how to use it. It's not like you take a pill and it works. You need to be your own pharmacist. You got to know the right dose. Right now, I use a tincture and I use it throughout the day, maybe 3 or 4 times a day. And what it does, I take it to the, not to the psychoactivity. I don't get high on it. I take it right below that level. And I have not, when I tell you, have not had any phantom pains. More so, even like I said, with the opioids, I still had them. The key that I've learned through the years is when that starts kicking down there, when those nerves start gyrating or whatever, they're going to start running up the leg. That's when I make sure I've got control. Because once it starts running up the leg, you can't stop it. It's really hard.
You're trying to get ahead of it. And yeah. I understand. And
there's a supplement too that is very good for nerve pain. It's a natural, we make it in our bodies. It's an antioxidant called alpha lipoic acid. Mm. It really helps with nerve pain. I highly recommend that to the listeners to take a look at it. It's very safe, and I think you would have some.
I want to make sure that we tell all our listeners what is the way in which you prefer people reach out to you, because obviously you have a lot to offer the community in terms of guidance, in terms of personal training and coaching. How would someone go about getting in touch with you?
Well, you can Google my name. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, and I also have my own website. It's dennychipollini.com. That has to be updated a little bit, but it shows some of the videos of my earlier years when I did the marathons and speaking in schools and things like that.
And you'll take just a straight up DM from someone. So if someone just messages you, that's okay.
Yeah, I've got to feel it out, but
Okay.
I've learned.
You got to filter out the scammers.
Yeah, you usually can tell right away. You go see their profile and they have one picture. I mean, they're not real.
I always know it's a scam when it's some really good looking girl.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I'm like, whoop, she not interested in me.
Like 21 years old, and why are you getting in touch with me?
That's usually a first sign for me. I'm like, you don't want this old geezer. I know that you carried the Olympic torch, correct?
I carried two of them.
So
I carried in 2002. I carried the Olympic torch in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And then I went out to Utah and carried the Paralympic torch up the Olympic mountain, the hill to the stadium.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
I am very proud of that.
That's
very
a
proud
big
of those
deal.
Two.
I mean, I
was told I was the only person to really do that.
That's your legacy right there. I mean, that's a big deal, man. Wow.
Well, it felt good. And again, this all comes from the amputation.
Yeah.
The amputation doesn't define who I am,
right?
But it sure got me off my ass, and it made me realize, hey, and here's the other thing people don't realize. When you find solution, and it's tough, you've had both your legs and all of a sudden they're gone, one's gone or both are gone. It's all new, but you find solutions. And when you get those solutions, they build your self-esteem. They build your confidence. And you just keep going. Hey, where can I go with this?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 70 years old, and what I was told you're supposed to feel like at 70, I ain't stopping right now. I'm going to keep going. And if I die doing what I love, people say, hey, you can die out there on the street. Well, then I died doing what I like, what I wanted to do.
Yeah, so, not wasting away in a bed somewhere.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I like my downtime too, but I first got to get my activity in because it feels so good.
I've got a question just because the accident that sort of lit the wick on all of this many, many years ago. I mean, is there any part of you that ever thinks about that at all? And in what regard do you if you do think about it, what goes through your mind?
I think about it all the time.
You do,
but I don't. It doesn't make me sad. It makes me realize what I gained from that. One of the most important things I gained when I was out on that turnpike, both legs were severed.
Yeah.
One was under the guardrail, the other one was on the dashboard, and the blood's coming out of me. And I'm like, I'm going to die within 2 minutes if I don't figure this out.
Yeah.
So there we go with the solutions. So I made a tourniquet and put it on the one leg. The other leg I held with my hand. And the pain was excruciating. But then it got real comfortable, where it was like I was in a cloud. And I'm like, that's when I got scared because I'm going to die. Yeah. This is what death is. But what I did,
that peaceful moment before you slip away.
Yeah. What I did is I visualized I was going to be in a safe place within a couple hours with doctors working on me and patching me back up. And I put that in my head and I believed it. You should have saw the blood. It started to slow down coming out of me. And that's how powerful our minds are. Mm-hmm. That is how powerful it is. Like today, I was out doing my speed walk, and the other day I kicked it up a few extra miles, so I've got a sore on there, and it was hurting. But I'm like out there, I got to get out, and it started to, and in Florida, when it rains, it's not drizzling, it's pouring. So it's starting to pour. So I started to kick it up to head to some shelter. And again, it just brought to mind the pain was gone. You know, it was I distracted myself enough because I wanted to get to dry spot. So our minds, if we sit around, especially during phantom pain sessions, if you sit around feeling, it's going to be worse. What I find sometimes you got to create other pain, kind of,
Yeah.
to take that away.
Yeah. Who inspires Denny Chipollini?
Oh, now I want you to understand this, and I don't mean this in a conceited way. And because I used to go around the schools, when I spoke at schools, I would say this to kids. I'd say, guys, do you remember, in kindergarten, and your teacher would say, hey, I want you to draw a picture of your hero, people that you look up to. And some people would do superheroes or firemen or policemen or, brothers and sisters. And I always said, and I would say to them, how about a picture of yourself? How about you inspiring yourself? And I don't mean that in a conceited way, but yeah, I look around and I see some of the, different people, and I look at them and see how they got to where they got. And I borrow a little bit, but I want my own, and I just try to inspire myself.
Yeah.
And I tell other people to do the same, one step at a time, slowly,
Is that the kind of advice that you would give to a new amputee?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just stay positive. Keep your yourself moving forward. If you can only walk 10 steps, then the next day do 11. And as you keep moving, you will create another road. There'll be more roads to travel as long as they're moving forward. Yes, we do have our setbacks. And you do, hey, there's nothing wrong with feeling sorry for yourself. I've done it over and over again, but don't stay there. Turn around, and that's when you go inside and say, hey, what can I do to change this and make it better? And you find solutions.
Yeah.
It's, I love life. It's so, sharing it and has been such a joy for me.
Well, I've had the personal pleasure of following you. I've had the pleasure of drawing from your energy and being able to kind of, how you said, take some of that, right? And then infuse it into my own life, into my own experience. And, you sharing all of that today is going to help more people than you realize. I had someone the other day said to me, and she's a cancer survivor, and she's been through so much. And she said to me, I'm so inspired by you and your story. And she's just going on and on and on. And of course, every awkward alarm bell is going on in my head, thinking, okay, I'm not a big deal, first of all. Second of all, you inspire me because of what you've been through, and multiple surgeries, cancer revisiting your life multiple times. And she said, you know what it is? She said, you never know who you're inspiring. You just don't.
Exactly.
You don't.
And that's able-bodied people and everyone. We're being watched, and we got to be the best we can be.
Yeah.
Unless you just, you're those people that say positive, what's it called? Like toxic
positivity.
Yeah.
Stop
oh my
being
God,
so
I'm going to be using that one.
I can't stand it.
Oh, you know what? One of the best compliments I ever got. I worked for a company and I worked on a truck delivering packages. When after the accident, I couldn't do that, so I had to go inside, and I worked quality control. And I'll never forget this maintenance guy. He was a friend of mine. He pulled up to me in his little cart and he says, I got to tell you something. You make me want to go home and cut my leg off. I went, wow, that's like the best compliment I've ever heard. You know what I mean? He says, you make it look so easy. You look like, that you're, Well, it's way or the other. In 2 years, I will have had, an amputation, one leg, for as long as I had two legs.
Yeah.
So then after that, I would be longer an amputee than I was with, when I was born. So, hey, you just learn.
Yeah, that's such a mind blow to me in terms of, looking at the course of your lifetime.
Yeah.
And then measuring, what part of this experience has been, more predominant in my journey, and to identify I'm actually going to live as an amputee longer than I did as what's considered to be an able-bodied, not missing
Right.
any limbs kind of person. And that's such an interesting perspective to sit back and examine that and say,
And the thing is too, it gives purpose to what happened to us.
yeah,
If we're inspiring people and we're getting to people and getting them to look into themselves and like who they are, then this whole thing, my accident, had a purpose. I didn't want to waste it.
yeah.
And every day it gets even better. It gets even better.
You have not wasted it. I can attest to that. I so appreciate you taking the time to share your story, to share your wisdom as an amputee. I'm very grateful for that.
Oh,
And
I'm grateful for you having me.
I hope that you continue to allow us to follow you and be part of
Absolutely.
this amazing journey that you're on.
Absolutely.
Denny Chipollini, thanks for being here. My name is Rick Bontkowski. This is the Amp'd UP211 podcast, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.